Hi guys, this is Dave Bennett, and it's October 8th, 2016. We're in the software installer tool, and this video is going to cover batch installation. Okay, so what we're going to do is just install a bunch of stuff, either to one or more websites would be the idea. And so let me kind of show you how that's done. So first we're going to download the sample. Okay, and what are we going to install? Well, whatever it is we wanted to install. I'm just going to kind of show you how that works as we go. So let's enable the editing. Okay, always do that if you see that. Okay, and again, you can save these things as templates for future use. Okay, let's go through the columns real quick. We have server, then domain, then subdomain. So server actually means the top level, okay, and that would be this, okay. This right here, this would be considered the server. So for instance, moji-samples, we'll just stick with that, right? Boom. Okay, and this is the next one, okay? So the next one, the domain. So on that particular C panel, this should just say C panel, but it says server, don't change the words. The tool's looking for the header, right? Always looks for the header, so leave the headers alone. But this would be the C panel, and then this is the domain, either the top level domain or an add-on domain if you happen to have an add-on domain in the list, okay? So the first one's to know where to connect, and then the second one's to choose the domain. Then from there, we go to subdomain, if there is one, okay? So if you have the main domain, the server, and then the domain name's the same, that's where the subdomain goes, because that's what's going to happen. This is going to be the subdomain on this, okay? So it's going to be the subdomain on the top level domain or the subdomain on the add-on domain. And this is the way you would fill it in. Notice how there's no http://www. Okay, so sure enough, moji-samples.com. Now, since that's the only one there, and we're going to do, let's say, a bunch of installations, and that's actually what we're going to do for the domain. But we're going to have like subdomain, and this is going to be who knows what. I could say Chicago plumber, then I could say Denver plumber, or whatever it is I want to do, right? This could be a major keyword. This could be anything, all right? So if you guys already went through the individual installation video, and I think you did, right? That gives you the explanation for everything that's happening here. This batch installation file follows that same logic. So everything you learned about this in the individual installation video is what's happening here for batch installation, because we're just doing a lot of them at once. That's it. This is literally like filling out that page for the individual installation. And then the next row is doing another one and another one and another one. It's pretty cool, right? So I'm just going to leave this like subdomain 1. I'm going to say database user 1 and database name 1 too, you know, and the password, database password 1. Now, really, you can make these anything. They can be the same password for different usernames, you know, database names. I'm sorry, that's the database name. That's the database user. So keep that in mind. This is the user, and that's the pass that goes with the user. And right smack in the middle is the database name. Okay. Somebody asked me, can you resort these? You know what? I never thought about it. I just fill in what I need, ignore what I don't, and that's fine. Can you have some subdomains and then some of these are blank and then more subdomains? Absolutely. So if you wanted to do this to a bunch of your websites, and that's what I mean, like so far we just have one website in our list, right? Well, the file works with your website list. So if I wanted to do 50 subdomains times all 100 of these websites, and I knew what I was doing, I had some kind of mapped out plan, okay, then yes, I can do the first 50 for the first website, the next 50 go for the 10-day fix, the next 50 go for something else, 14dayaffiliate.com, and I can just keep going, keep going, keep going, okay? And I can do the same subdomains with the same usernames and database names and passwords for every single different website, because those are different cPanel accounts. So they're completely distinct they're completely distinct database sets. Okay, so this database information would go with this cPanel. No matter what domains I choose, it goes with the cPanel. But then if I have another cPanel, I could duplicate all this database information for the other cPanel, so I've got uniformity for all these little programs I'm creating, and I just kind of know what I'm doing. So can you do that? Yes, you can. Okay. Word to the wise, be careful, because I forget which ones are which. I think the user, there is a max number of characters that you can use. So what do you think happens if we start dragging this thing down? Okay, it just changed the number of characters, right? So we may actually have to do something about that from 10 through 99. We may just have to change something else. So maybe instead of DB user 10, I'm going to highlight everything I need to change within and do a Control H. Okay, that's my before and after. If you don't remember Control H, I literally think of this as the H. This is one side. The other side, this is the hole at the top and the hole at the bottom. So to me, a capital letter H looks like the find and replace box. Now, for all I know, that's why they used it. I have no idea. But if you highlight first what you want to change, then you can say change something like this, DB user, and change it to EB user. Okay? Place all. Okay? And why did I do that? So that I can start over again with the numbering. I can make this number 1. I can make this number 2. And I can make that, 1 through 9, whatever. Okay. Now, reality check is that's not so, whoops, I'm sorry. No, it was supposed to be a number 2. Okay, there. And then that way you can do this. Now, what really makes a lot more sense is instead of doing that, just subtract a letter and keep going, right? So for instance, let me just show you. So I'm going to do this. And that way you just get to see, again, repetitiveness is okay. Control H, ready? And I'm going to say DB user becomes DB use. Replace all. There we go. Now that'll last me all the way to 99. See? Because that's the right number of characters, all the way to 99. Now, having said that, if I'm going to a new cPanel, I can copy this whole list for whatever it is I'm doing here. I can literally copy and paste it again for the next batch, okay? Because it's a different cPanel, and so it's got a different whole database stack, all right? I think that's got to be crystal clear. I was just going through it to be clear. And again, the subdomains, that's as you wish. What are basic rules about subdomains real fast, just to make sure I cover them so you don't have any confusion? No need for capitals at all. Do not do something like this, as a matter of fact, because when it comes back and tries to work with the subdomain, it assumes lowercase by default, and so this will literally not match. Subdomains should be lowercase all of the time, whether you're a big company or a small company. Subdomains should always be lowercase letters and numbers and dashes or underscores. And that's basically it. No dots, no dollar signs, no percentage signs. Just keep it really simple. Letters and numbers, no apostrophes. Okay. Sometimes people have apostrophes in their lists of subdomains that they paste in. They go get keywords, and somehow they wind up with keywords that have symbols in them, like dollar signs or apostrophes, and they paste it in. Well, it's kind of sloppy, okay? Now, real quick, I do want to make one nice point. Let's say you had a bunch of keywords. Good dog, I don't know what, whatever, dog trimming, okay? Chicago, okay? And let's say you pasted in your whole list of keywords, all right, for like every different city. So pretend it's Chicago, Atlanta, Denver, whatever, right? These all have spaces in them. What can you do really, really quick to make your life easier? You can just highlight the whole column, okay? Or you can just grab the set, and you can do a Control H and replace what with what? Replace every instance of a space with a dash. Replace all. There, you got it? Yeah. And then also, that way, if there were any hidden spaces at the end, Now you'd see them. It would look like that. And you go, uh-oh, you can go clean that data up, right? There you go. Now again, it doesn't make sense to do the same subdomain twice unless I'm installing different software and then I come back and install more. Remember, that's what we did in the last video for individual installation. In the first case, we installed to our subdomain, we installed what? We installed a database, name, user, pass, a zip file from our file repository, a SQL file from our file repository. We put in the user pass, put in that security key. We chose what the guy's email address is supposed to be. By the way, those should not be hyperlinks. Here's how I do that. Just kind of like block, right click, remove hyperlinks. Okay. All right. Those should not be hyperlinks. My Excel makes some hyperlinks like every time I save it. So I got to unmake it every time I come back in. And then what do we have? The connection.php file. Whatever our file rules are. Now I know it's saying file rule number 1, file rule number 2, but it should really just be like this. Okay? And then this should be like, you know, whatever. Okay? If you don't have file rules, you can just ignore that when you go putting this thing up. You can just ignore it. So then what do we have in the next line? We went to the same website, the same subdomain. Only this time we did not have a database user, we did not have a name, we did not have a pass, but we did have a new zip file to upload, right? That had the second template for the same panel. We did not have a SQL file, okay? We did not, therefore, need a new user pass because it's the same panel. We didn't need a new security key. We didn't need an email ID. We didn't need this either because we weren't doing anything with SQL. When we obviously didn't need that. We obviously didn't need that. Okay. So we can go through and literally do this. By the way, when you go to copy from the repository, all these things, let me show you real quick so you can see how that's done. If I go to the file repository and I want to install something, what did we install? First, it was landing pages with panels. We got the roofers. See this? I can copy, okay, and that'll copy the file path. That's what happened. It shows you up here what happened. But just by hitting the button, it is on my clipboard right now. So I don't have to go up there or anything. And just paste it. And to get the SQL file, I'll paste that. And then if I'm just going to put up another template without any SQL file, let me just go get that, right? So I'm going to come up one level, because that's in a different place. That's landing pages only. And that's where I got my spa, right? Bam. And so I'm going to put that right here. Paste. Okay. There you go. So I actually, in this case though, I would need to make sure I'm putting it in the same place, the same subdomain, because it's got to go in the same place. It's got to go on the same panel. Okay. So one subdomain, one panel. You can only put one panel on one subdomain. And you can only put one panel in the root. Okay. Just so you know. So that's for our websites. Of course, you can install anything you want that you upload to your own file repository. So again, this could be a bunch of Google verification files. It could be a bunch of bulk subdomain creation files. And you don't need to do anything with the SQL file for that reason. Now, having said that, could we install, could we drag this thing down? Yeah, we could. We could install the same combinations to a bunch of different subdomains on the same or other domains, right? Just don't forget when you paste the data to come all the way back because you've got to get the server information too, okay? And same with the SQL. Now, most people don't go back and forth this way, right? they would first go through a stack where they install the main panels with the SQL files, the user passes, security keys, database name, user pass. They do that whole bit up here. That would be the top array, okay? And then they would keep going. So they would continue by having the next batch down here, just go adding those new panels in, like this one here, right? So all those would be down here, because that would be, it would just keep going, right? Don't copy the header line and paste it down here or anything. It's the same header information no matter how deep the file goes. Okay? Just simply organize your information and upload it. As long as you are consistent, you've gotten everything in, then it's going to work just fine. Now, granted, I'm not doing it right now, but I think it's pretty clear just how you line it up and do it. We can come back and do an example soon. But what would you do when you're done? You go and highlight the array, right? So you put your cursor here, find out where the bottom of your array is, wherever it is, and then put your cursor at the far end of what you need, okay? Like the far end of what you need, the far end of what you need, to make sure you get it all. Now, if you do not need file rules or database rules, you could have stopped back here, okay? So you could just simply go from here to here maybe, all right? So just as long as this stuff is filled out properly all the way across and all the way down, whatever should be filled in is filled in. Obviously, the server should always be filled in. The domain should always be filled in. Subdomain, that's optional. You're going to have it where you want it. Database user, if you're going to install a database, you're going to need a database user. Okay. And then if you're not going to install a database, you don't need any of that. Okay. Just the zip file will do if you're going to install the zip file. Okay. But if you're going to install a database, you're probably going to install a SQL file as well. So just make sure that when you have a database, you have a SQL file to install to that database, because there's no use in an empty database, right? We covered that before. Okay, so user pass is whatever pass you want to give to each of these different cases. Now, you do not need a user pass if you're just uploading files, right? The user passes are for SQL files. They update in the SQL file. Okay, and then security keys if you got them. If you don't need them, like again with individual installations like this or whatever it is you're installing, you don't need a security key unless you have your own. Okay, and so then email. That again, the email is something that goes inside the SQL information. Okay, so if you're just uploading a zip file, then there is literally no reason to have an email ID. Matter of fact, a lot of standard installations, just the real quick, I want to make this one clear. I feel like my computer's kind of burgeoning down, which is why I'm being touchy, because I think I'm going to need to restart it before I continue. If I just had a bunch of zip files and that was it, okay, and I had literally no database files at all for your contents, okay, and I was going to install to, and let me just do it this way so I can make it work really easily, okay, subdomain 1, you know, different subdomains of the same website, okay, then this is how it would look. Server, domain, subdomain, nothing, 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 the zip file, and then literally nothing else is needed at all. So you know what? I only need to highlight from here through here because that's complete. Yes, include the empty columns. No, don't take them out. Leave them in. Leave the order of columns in as far as you need to go. And then just copy. And then come over to your batch installation. Hit go. And then literally process the data. Okay? And it will verify everything and make sure that you put the data in correctly and that it can read it all. And then literally hit start installation and it will just install them. And these are themes only, so it's only going to take a handful of seconds for each one. You'll see a progress bar on the far right. I go ahead and start it, but I kind of don't need to do it. And keep in mind what it's doing in this case. It is creating the subdomain as it goes. Now, there was one point I want to remember from individual installation. I think it said if you are not installing a SQL file, you cannot create a subdomain. That can't be right. That's not right. It's actually not right. So yeah, no, Belay that. You're going to be fine. You're going to be good to go. It's going to work. Matter of fact, I'm just curious. So I'm going to go ahead and install. Do you want to continue installing? Yeah. So I'm just going to watch it work. And again, that's the point. There's a new column over here. If you're on a cell phone, you may have to scroll over slightly. There you go. By the way, this is a good point. I don't want to forget it. Don't click the click means now. We really have to remember to have this open in a new tab. You should be able to right click it and hit open link in a new tab, okay? Because if you open it now, it'll interrupt all this work. Okay, did it upload or did it create the subdomain? Yeah. Did it upload the website? You know, whatever it was, I had it install. Yeah. Did it extract it? Yeah. Did it create a database? No, because it was empty, right? It was just empty, and then everything else is undefined. So theoretically, and that's just it. I mean, this isn't going to look right if we do it like this. So I can go there and just see what it looks like. Subdomain 1.moji-samples.com. And yeah, I mean, it's got everything installed okay, so it uploaded the zip file and then it did extract it. And this is the result of that extraction. But there was no panel here. There's no database connecting main information here. No security key, email, password, nothing. Which is why it looks the way it does. Okay. There you go. So it's doing the work. It's creating the subdomains and it's installing the zip file and it's extracting the zip file. So if you did it with that, and look, I mean, see how fast it created all those subdomains? Literally, what was it, a minute or two to create 15? Now, if you do this by hand, it takes an average of 2 minutes per subdomain. Here, we installed like 15 subdomains in a minute or a minute and a half. It's doing like 10 a minute, which is like 20 times as fast as you can do it, okay? Or as you would want to do it. Okay, there you go. This is the coolness of this tool. It allows these productions to be made. By the way, what do you think some people do with subdomains? They create them for every reseller in their program. All the guys who sign up to their reseller, they get subdomains like Bob-Smith, Jane-Doe, Ann-Mary, whatever it is. And so you can paste in the names, replace spaces with dashes, and create all the subdomains in their website for them, and they would love it. That way they can upload the same files to every one of those subdomains, which, guess what? We can do for them more easily. And yeah, we can install the SQL files, and yeah, we can create all those connection.php strings, which for them may be a huge boon. It might mean that they can make offers to their downline that they were afraid to make before because of all the work it would take. Because there are people out there manually creating each new affiliate setup with their own database and connection file and everything else. You can take all that work off their hands. You can take all the work off your hands. Okay, that's the value of batch installation. And again, you can use it when you install just simply zip files or to create whole SQL setups. Okay, and you can do it on a bunch of domains at the same time, a bunch of add-on domains, with or without subdomains. The whole thing is available, complete with file change rules if you have different kinds of software that you put in your file repository. All right, I hope you're starting to see some real power that comes out of this. It's really fascinating what you can do with this. And so there you go. Thank you very much.